indeed. With that, I would like to thank Dr. Satoru Nagao for joining us and sharing that insight throughout our news. Thank you very much. Now we move on. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said that a rare earths deal between the United States and China could hopefully be finalized by Thanksgiving. Speaking at an interview, Bessent has expressed confidence that China would honor the agreements reached in recent negotiations. He has also cited the recent meeting between President Donald Trump and President Xi Jinping in Korea as a key factor in ensuring compliance. Let's listen in.
Maria, I think that Wall Street Journal reporting is not very accurate. We haven't even finished the agreement, which we hope to have done by Thanksgiving. And I am confident that post our meeting in Korea between the two leaders, President Trump, President Xi, that China will honor their agreements. Xi Jinping has great respect for President Trump. The meeting was conducted very high level, and I am confident that they will honor their agreement, and if they don't, we have lots of levers. But to come out and say this before the agreement's even inked, I think is irresponsible.
The comments have followed a framework agreement announced last month, in which Washington agreed not to impose 100% tariffs on Chinese imports, while China agreed to hold off on implementing an export licensing regime for critical rare earth minerals and magnets. Bessent has also dismissed a recent Wall Street Journal report suggesting that Chinese officials plan to restrict access to rare earths for U.S. companies with military ties. Now for this discussion, we welcome Professor Stefan Nagy. He's a professor of international relations, International Christian University, joins us live from Tokyo. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us again. Good to see you. Thank you. Now, looking at this, to what extent could reliance on a negotiated rare earths arrangement constrain U.S. foreign policy choices toward China?
Well, in the short term, obviously, China has an edge. It has a 90% monopoly in terms of rare earth materials and almost the same in terms of the processing. But it shot its only bazooka in terms of the trade negotiations. And what we've seen now, and it began on October 29th with President Trump's visit to Japan, that they signed a rare earth processing and development agreement in which they would accelerate this move towards moving away from dependency of China's rare earth monopolies. That means that I think in the short term, we're going to see some negotiations between the United States and China, but over the mid to long term, it's going to be more difficult for China to use the rare earth card in its negotiating processes with the Trump administration. In that sense, the Trump administration is going to be in a stronger position a month from now, 6 months from now, and a year from now, and it'll be interesting to see where the trade negotiations go from there.
And what political risks are involved or could arise when economic agreements such as the rare earths access depend on personal diplomacy between Xi Jinping and Trump?
Well, this is the challenge. We have two leaders that really have concentrated most of the power of their states within their hands, and this makes it more difficult in terms of moving forward and finding the institutional pathways to stabilize bilateral relations. Mr. Trump is he's famous for his personalized diplomacy and his strong belief that through his personality, his force of personality, that he can push forward a deal. And President Xi, Secretary General Xi, as well has he's the top of the pile of leaders within the Chinese context, and really, if he makes a decision to move forward, then the deal will move forward. But the challenge is on both sides is that the Chinese system is incredibly non-flexible, and the American system is consistently flexible, and it can pivot very quickly, especially with a leader like Mr. Trump. And that means that this deal could fall through, or it could get pushed forward at an accelerated pace, all depending on really what Mr. Trump is going to decide in the coming weeks and months.
And how do you think how might competing internal factions within both these governments use the rare earths deal to advance their own political agendas?
So we should be clear, within the Chinese context, the factions are within the party, between the PLA, the party, and the red aristocrats. The red aristocrats and the PLA would like to somehow stabilize relations with the United States, get things back on the right track, as many would say, and move back to the period that they see was the best part of U.S.-China relations back in the 1990s and 2000s, when they had regular economic and security exchanges, when the trade relationship was not securitized and the economy was stable. And today, the Chinese economy is in deep trouble in terms of the structural issues. More and more people are not consuming, and this creates tremendous pressures against the party and against Xi Jinping. And I think that those parties are going to try to stabilize relationships and find a way to keep the rare earth supply moving to the United States to try and stabilize it. And they may use it actually to push Mr. Xi out. In the United States, whether it's the automobile industry, the defense industry, they all depend on rare earth materials to ensure that their products that they're producing can be produced. And in that sense, they're going to be competing pressures on the Trump administration to keep rare earth materials flowing from China until they find alternative routes. So we're going to see pressure on both leaders. But I think within the mid to long term, I think that there's going to be much less pressure on an American president than a Chinese president, because the American economy is structurally sound, unemployment is low, consumption is high, and again, they have the comparative advantages that China just doesn't have over the mid to long term.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Professor, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving on to Europe, Germany's finance minister, Lars